Good morning to you all, and congratulations, Baroness Smith, on your well-deserved role. Secretary of State, just in relation to that, and notwithstanding the points you've made, which are accurate in terms of the number of meetings and so on and so forth, do you think that giving the Scottish Government 19 minutes notice of the plan to reduce funding for the winter fuel allowance reflected a resetting of relations?
Well, if you wouldn't mind me saying to the Honourable Gentleman that our relationship with the First Minister and the Deputy First Minister and indeed the Scottish Government is probably slightly better than your own in this moment in time. So, you know, we have worked very, very closely together. And look, the way in which the fiscal statements work, of course, there's a lot of market-sensitive information in there. And the Scottish Government, and indeed Shona Robinson as the Finance Secretary, was given all the information that was in the budget at the time of which it could be given. In fact, it was given at about the same time it was given to Cabinet as well, the wider Cabinet. So, yes, these things are quite difficult. I would hope perhaps that the Scottish Government might reciprocate and give us some of the information about the Scottish budget that's happening on the early part of December, in order for us to be able to see what we can do as well to work together on those things. So it isn't a discourtesy. Actually, what we've tried to do is make sure that enough and as much information as possible can go in a timely manner. Of course, everything's market sensitive, so really the budget isn't delivered until the Chancellor gets to her feet. And those fiscal statements are incredibly difficult to try and make sure enough information goes out that isn't market sensitive, that could be that could end up in a public domain that would be detrimental to the country. And therefore it's not discourteous in that sense, on the basis that we gave all the information that we could. I was on those meetings as well at the time we could give it. And we'll continue to work on how we can improve those processes through FISC, and the Chief Secretary of the Treasury has given that commitment that we'll look to try and improve those processes where we can.
On the same thing? Yeah. Okay.
I totally accept what the Secretary of State is saying in that regard, but surely he would recognise that where a benefit is under the likely devolved control of the Scottish Government, 90 minutes notices to the withdrawal of that funding does not represent a respect agenda, and surely if they're going to be in the position of trying to reset relations going forward, some sort of adjustment needs to be made which recognises the fact that the Scottish Parliament does have responsibilities that it needs to exercise, but of course much of the financial levers rest with his own government here in London. And do you think that those processes can and should be better in future to stop decisions like that impacting upon Scotland's Parliament?
Well, I mean, devolution works best when both governments work together. That's quite clear. But, you know, as I've already said, market-sensitive information has to be given at the time it has to be given, and that is maximised the way it can be. For the budget, for example, we met with Shona Robinson via Zoom, the Chief Secretary and I, and went through the entire budget with her about 2 hours before the budget was given. It might have even been longer than that. That certainly would have been much earlier than many people would have seen the budget, and we had a long and productive discussion. It was welcomed by the Finance Secretary. So we will try and improve these processes. Of course, the Chief Secretary of the Treasury wants to improve them where it can be improved, but the nature of a budget is that there will be market-sensitive information there that can only be given at the time that the budget's actually sealed down and able to be given.
Elaine, did you want to come in on this one?
Yeah. Well, given the Scottish Office's remit as to promote Scotland's devolution, that means that our two parliaments with separate responsibilities. Does the Secretary of State think that double jobbing should be confined to the past and our residents deserve more?
Well, I mean, the Scottish Parliament can essentially put together the rules and regulations of which they want to do. I know individual parties do that as well. Double jobbing is something that I would find incredibly difficult. There's not enough time in the day to do one job, let alone two, particularly if we want to represent our constituents properly as well. So I would have thought that double jobbing is something that we would want to make sure doesn't happen. Has of course happened in the past, but you know, everyone sitting around this table will know how difficult it is to be a constituency MP, let alone having other responsibilities as well. So yes, I would have thought that the Scottish Parliament may want to look at that, and I know that the UK Parliament are looking at it because it's a Labour Party policy, was in our manifesto.